So welcome to the second class of our Healing the Witch Odyssey. I'm really excited for what we're doing. It's like, how much can I cram into one class and yet not make it overwhelming? That's why all of a sudden it's coming to be. So welcome to today, and we're going to certainly set our space. So take a breath. Just acknowledge your physical body is there, right in a physical location. And make sure that you breathe, stretch, whatever your body needs to do for it to just settle. There's no messages it needs to give you, doesn't have to do any work, just to hold you. And while you're being held, let's ask our teams to rejuvenate the bodysuit itself. Energize that body. We meet in the sacred ground of sovereignty. Cocooned within the fourfold layers of invisibility, of divine nurturing, of removal of all that is outsider imposed or influenced back to its home. All those who have been wandering as hitchhikers or disincarnated beings that are anywhere in our vicinity, their causal teams will take them to the light with a hazmat suit energy around us to absorb and eliminate, neutralize. Today we're going to put on a reflective shield that what comes toward us that's of the light but not ours is reflected back to the sender for them to get the information because it's for them. We're here being held in the arms of Gaia, here in her home. She's actively participating with us in this work. We're being guided in our discernment with the Sophia collective of our solar plexus, that wisdom center, that sword connection into the heavens to say, no, this is not allowed, as well as open the doors, that's good. And the grace power center of love, so that we can bring the great depth of love and wisdom, creativity fearlessly from the roots of Gaia right up out into the world in protected and validating ways. Holding that pillar for ourselves, for our families, for our communities, and indeed for the whole world, we broadcast that from our point here. So our circle is designed and declared, set, active, and now opened for our work. And so it is. Just let yourself get a sense of what that circle has to infuse for you. And when you're ready, take a deep breath. Be with us in the circle. And we're going to place ourselves in the circle by our name, where we are on the planet. If there is a quality you want to make sure is activated within this amazing field of intelligence that you have created, you could speak that quality. And we're going to also create that healing circle for any in your life that you feel would be calling you to be put into a healing space while we meet. You can do that by just giving a number, and we will have that in our circle also. So quality, where you are, name, what quality, and how many would you like to put in the healing space. So Sharon Raji Maynard here. I'm not on Whidbey Island today. I'm out in an area the city called Darrington. It's closer to the Cascades. In fact, the mountains are very close, as is the snow. So it's a beautiful, beautiful day of sun coming through right now. And I want to bring in the energy of stability and 5 people. And I'm going to pass to Audrey.
Hi, I'm Audrey and I'm in Northeast PA. And so I'd like to bring in 5 people. And the qualities that I'd like to bring in are awe and wonder. And I would like to call in Debbie. Debbie.
It's Debbie. I'm Deb Westby, and I'm in Wisconsin. And the word that first came to mind was connections, but then I was also led to oneness. So I'd like to bring the energy of connections and oneness. And I'll pass this on to Deborah.
Thank you. I'm in Sanford, North Carolina. And I'd like to bring in, I think it's 9 people and the energy of healing. And I will pass it on to Denise if she can hear us.
Yes, this is Denise, and I'm in Mount Pleasant, North Carolina. And I would like to bring in qualities of peace and unity. And I would like to bring 10 people in to the circle.
And Denise, you probably can't see the other. So is it okay if I name one for you?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Okay, thanks, Denise. Arlie.
I'm Arlie. I'm in New Zealand. 25 minutes ago, we found out we're being sued for $50,000 over a real estate deal on Mercer Island, Washington, that was completed 15 years ago. Feeling a little, in spite of that beautiful calming meditation you started with, Sharon, I would like to bring in calm and focus and 9 people and that same cat. And I would like to call on Sharon Alexander.
Thank you, Arlie. Hello, all. Sharon here in beautiful Colorado. Had a little bit of snow on the ground this morning. It's cold. There's a big change from the last few days, but it's definitely seasonal. I would like to bring in the qualities of presence and harmony, please. And 18 people and 1 cat. Thank you. And I think that is everyone, right?
It is everyone. So we have
Is Sharon frozen?
Hello?
Yes, Sharon is frozen.
so what do you think?
We
Sharon,
missed
I
what
think
you
we
said. You were
Just missed
frozen.
everything you said. Yeah.
Oh, I was frozen?
Yes.
Okay. So we have 56 people, 2 cats, and we're going to put Arlie's group situation into the circle. Arlie, is that okay? And stability, awe and wonder, oneness and connection, healing and unity, calm and focus, presence and harmony. And with that, let's call in the causal teams of all those we have in the circle. They know the highest and best resolution for individuals, for situations, for our animal friends. And we give our request and declaration that they be held in the divine space of love and healing for whatever is best outcome for all concerned. And ask them to be with these individuals and situations and animals as we meet and beyond. And so it is. Okay, well, I'm hoping that because I'm out in country la la land. I'm quitting something here to see if maybe that will help also. So I'm going to start with any questions or information that you want to review from last week, if there is anything. And I'm going to suggest that all of us who are on video can see who is speaking and know when we stop speaking. Denise doesn't have that advantage, so she doesn't know your voices, and she doesn't. It would be helpful, I think, if when you're speaking you identify yourself, just so that Denise can be in the conversation in that way. Okay, so this is just a time for that. What came up? What questions or feedback from last week? And we'll just do it popcorn style. So anyone who wants to speak can do so, and when they're finished, then another one. So that's your time.
I have a quick question, Sharon.
Yes, Denise.
Last week you had said when you're releasing ties, you do not cut. Could you explain the reasoning behind that, or what is that all about?
Well, first of all, there's no need to cut, but when you cut, the cord isn't disconnected from you. It's there. You've left an energy vibe in your field.
I see. Okay.
And so that's why cutting isn't the answer. The sword of Sophia, which is the discernment and declaration to say, not in my world, is a sword that it goes into the heavens. It's spiritual connection into the unseen, and using it to declare into the unseen with your authority. And you have the cord is complete. Remove it from me and let it go back into the concept that would send out cords, you see. So that's why I suggest not cutting.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Anyone else?
May I ask for some advice or insight? It feels like this is a safe group to do this in, and a valuable perspective might emerge. I've been planning the memorial service for my mother, which is Tuesday of next week. And I find myself having a hard time feeling like I can trust my brother. I have two brothers, but only one will be there with his entourage of related family people. And he has had some anger, and that kind of stuff was coming up for him in the beginning of this process. And so my tendency is to want to get small. Well, really, it's just to want to ignore him. And I don't know if you have insights or advice I can send love and do all those things, and I can be my kind and present self, but I don't like the feeling that I maybe have to play small or different, or I don't know. I just don't know. And once this is over, then I'll just let him go on with his merry life, but it's just awkward. And I don't know if this is okay to be bringing this up now, but thank you.
Absolutely. I'm going to invite, because I have ideas, and I think that others might also, maybe even they've gone through that. So I'm just going to invite ideas, first of all, from the rest of you. So what would you say, and what have you experienced that might be helpful for Sharon? Deb?
One of the things that I've been learning is to, even around people who make me feel uncomfortable, who in the past I had that tendency to kind of withdraw, shrink, and be small. But what I've been learning is I have to honor my truth. And recently, speak your truth has been coming through. And in a situation like this, maybe you don't want to have that conversation of any type, but you can still live your truth. Stand tall in who you are in your truth. You don't have to have a lot of engagement, but stand true to you.
One of the things, are you done, Debbie? I'm sorry. Okay. One of the things that I do with uncomfortable energy, which is what I did about my situation this morning immediately, is I'm being made uncomfortable for a reason. And so I whip out the guardianship circle and put it around the other person. And I try to have outsiders, hitchhikers, have the PTO come in, take care of parasitic energy, and put this on a whole different playing field. I'm trying to change the game board by doing a healing on them and their energy. And then assess and see if we are going to be able to meet in a new place. And I find that that really helps me too, because all healing is healing ourselves. So that's my 2 cents.
Mhm. Thank you. Deborah?
I think Denise was ready to say something.
Yeah, it really, boy, a lot of this is coming up for me. It seems to be the theme in my life right now. And I think it was Deb said something about standing tall in your truth. And that really is resounding for me these days. And I still am learning how to do that, what that looks like, what that feels like. But the one thing that has become very clear to me is that when I don't honor my truth, wow, it's like chaotic. I physically get sick. I'm really disoriented. I don't get away with it anymore, and making me realize how much I've done that in my life. So, yeah, we're all in the circle here together. That's for sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Deborah?
First thought was, well, we're doing this course on, which is to keep women in their power instead of having it being small and having it being taken from them. And this is an opportunity, and family is always the hardest one to work with because they're always there. You can kind of try and hide out, but they're, it's not like some people you can just not see again and have any connection to. So I'd say between now and then, just as Arlie was saying, keep doing tag healing. It's very powerful, and who knows what can shift between now and next week at the service. And just keep yourself cocooned and protected, and do what you need to do to protect yourself. I mean, it's a vulnerable time at your mom's memorial service, and you have to take care of you first, you know, self first, family second, others third. So what do you need to do to take care of you? You know, whether that's asking your husband to, if he starts coming close, run interference. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea what the answer is, but just sort of ask, what would that look like for you at the service, so that you can have a respectful service and time that you need to say goodbye to your mom in that manner. And just see what comes up, and just keep doing the tag healing, because it's very powerful. Thank you.
Audrey?
Hi, it's Audrey. I agree with everything. And I was just thinking, instead of looking at what could go wrong, do the timeline differently. See it unfolding in a way that feels natural and accepting between everybody involved. So create a new plan of how it's going to unfold, maybe.
So everything that comes into our world is us. There's something in our field that's manifesting. That's the law. And so understanding that this is a difficult energy relationship, you know, put it in step one, acknowledge that it's difficult. There's messages in it, all right? Put him in a guardian circle. Put him in, you know, we put him in like an ice cube to freeze frame, so he doesn't have to escalate. The situation doesn't have to escalate. So acknowledge that there's a situation, freeze frame the situation. And then the next step is, what is it saying to me? Like, you could do a disc creation, go into the feeling, what that brings up for you, make it really big. Make a choice. Do you want that feeling? Do you need that experience anymore? And do that simple process. Set what's the outcome? When you use energy and you become a master of working with energy, you determine the outcome. So the outcome, what do you want for your mother's memorial? What's the experience that you want? You're setting, you have the right, need to set the culture for the space, bring in healers, the causal teams, and say, be in that physical space, heal what comes up, send light into it, bring beings into that space, but you do a reality statement to determine the space. And then, like Audrey said, you also can determine the journey of that the journey toward the plan, the invitation, the receiving, the interactions are all done with generosity and calm, whatever, and set that in place, right? And then that would be, that for me, that would be the basic thing to do. Acknowledge, freeze frame it, guardian circle both of you, get your message, and do your own healing around it. And then what's the outcome? What's the journey? And then the other thing you could do is take a quiet moment, or maybe a couple of quiet moments, where you call to your brother, higher self in energy, and say to him what you need to say to him, hear from him what you need to hear from him, make a different agreement to higher self, have that conversation. And it might be very difficult, so then do it again and keep having that conversation until it's not difficult. And then you let go, because you've done your work. Now that's when you let go and say to the teams, have you got it? Yeah, we've got it. That's what you'll hear. Yeah, we've got it. Is there anything more for me to do? No, we've got it. It's in our hands. So then you let go and flow into the situation. If something comes up in the moment, again, you have deep six, call in the PTO, you have a lot of instant help. So, and then let us know what happens. And we'll hold the space with you, right, ladies? We'll hold the space with you. Yes, Sharon?
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you. Helpful and good reminders. Thank you.
What time next Tuesday?
The event begins at 11 Mountain Time, 11 a.m. So it's 11 to 2. I'll probably arrive there, I don't know, at 9 to actually do that before anyone else to have, and then people maybe he, I don't know, will arrive 10:30. So morning Mountain Time through the middle of the day. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate the support.
That's what we're here for. For me, it's a moot point to just share information. I really want to be with people who are taking action, who are putting their words into some kind of action steps to accomplish. So that's what we're doing. Thank you for the opportunity. Anything else that's up before we get started? Okay, so take a deep breath, and
Sharon, I did want to ask one. I did want to ask one thing.
Got it.
This is
Arlie.
This is almost embarrassing to admit. Yes, this is Arlie in New Zealand. When the situation hit, swear word, that's swear word. And then I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a healing on this guy. He will not know how to handle being balanced, being in love, feeling love, losing his parasites or anything else. It's the best revenge possible. And I don't mean that I felt this in a loving way. I mean, I felt like this, like, here's my best punch, dude. And it's going to upset you. Does the energy that I send it with really matter so long as I send good healing and actual real intent that he be healed? That it started in anger, does that matter?
Well, I think I'm gonna answer from my own experience and perspective without having asked, but you and others can come on board. I think that whatever sparks, like something hit, it sparked, he felt anger, right? Now, anger can be a motivator, and but it also can carry judgment. It can carry other things. And so in my experience, I want to be able to hear the voice of anger, that's an alert, or it might be a voice of fear, or it might be a voice of not enough. It doesn't matter what the voice is. When it comes up, it's calling attention. So pay attention. Thank you, anger. Then I do a discretion on the anger to get to neutral, because I want my actions, my words to come from a neutral choice. So that's my thinking. I don't want them tainted with anything that anger might carry, for example, or fear might carry. When I was initially told what this clairvoyant saw, oh my gosh, I saw you doing this, and this is what's coming from your hands, and I mean, on, and I was angry, you see. And I, in that moment, used discretion because I knew I could not respond from anger, because it would color the vibrational path. If that makes sense. So that's what I would do. Not ignore it.
Right. Yeah, I just wondered if you're sending healing energy, if that tag of anger could ride along with it. And of course it makes sense that it could. And of course it makes sense that you can get rid of that with a discretion. Thank you.
Welcome. And again, it speaks to the most important thing is the presence of you. And in speaking, like in the relationship to the stories, Sharon, that you talked about with your brother, in a situation I'm working with right now with a client, and family members have a value set that Paul Ray would call traditionalist. And a traditionalist value set says the most important thing for you to do is to obey the leader, period. No matter what the leader says, you obey. And if there are any in the community that does not obey, they're against us, they're the enemy, they're evil, and they're out. That's a tribe mindset. It is that's a value set. My client's value set is more like Paul Ray, what he calls the cultural creatives. Okay, then, yeah, Debbie, I'll get back to that. The cultural creatives, which is, we're in this together. What can we do for the greater good? I want to bring my energy, my influence, my resource sources to be considered into a collective collaboration. That's a cultural creative. So if you have one family member who really is firm in my way or the highway, and the other family member says, let's work together, you see there's already a disconnect. And it's about tribes. And you're not going to have everybody, even in your family, in the same value tribe. And so, and there is no sense of saying, hey, this is a better way, because you wouldn't go with them. That's a better way. It's like, oh, okay, not my tribe. Perfectly fine. When we're together, this is how I need to be in order to not try and be badgered or not try to badger. Your presence reflects the tribe community that you value based on what you value. And so your presence is really important. And Debbie, the question Debbie had was, just the disc creation. And that's what we did that's that one process we did last week. I took you through a disc creation process. Like, what is it what's the feeling? Make it big. You're the balloon. Boy, blow it up. When you've had enough, breathe it out and let it be in front of you. Breathe it all out in front of you. When it's in front of you, you recognize it, you can name it. You are not enough. Put the label on the form. And then you breathe and you can say, okay, that's an experience. When I hold that thought, you are not enough, I will feel that way. They are one and the same. Question, do you want that experience? Do you need more of it? If you do, fine. If you don't, then that's when you identify what cords run from you, your energy fields, into that form. And that's when you disconnect the cords. Unscrew them, pull the hooks so they're straight, get help so that you can then dissipate the energy of the form back to light, and any influence of domination that's involved back to their home. So your presence is really important. The other thing we're going to talk about is the power of this moment. When you think about the witch hunts, and some of you may know more about those than others, I'm going to give you about a minute. What were the methods that were used to terrorize, to discount, to punish, to put to death? What were the methods used that you're aware of? And I want you to then, during this next minute, think about that and then put it in the chat. And Denise, I want you to put yours in the, put in your journal, and then when we speak them into the video, I'll have you speak yours. When you're on the phone, you can't do a chat.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that would be good. So we got about 10 seconds left. So Denise, what methods did you come up with?
Yeah, there were 4 different things: humiliation, cruelty, manipulation, and infliction of pain.
Okay, so humiliation, cruelty,
Mhm. Manipulation
and pain.
and the infliction of pain, yes. Mhm.
Okay, so I put that in the chat. Audrey, would you read the chat? Starting with, it looks like Arlie was the first one. So from Arlie down, would you read the different methods?
Yes, spying and reporting neighbors, breaking up communities, spreading fear about opening up about self to others, and that they might judge and report. Burning, drowning, reporting, spying, sermons on the evil of women and witchcrafts, of branding, constant haranguing about evil surrounding us, drowning, burning, separation from children, being reported as witch by loved ones, being reported as witch by others who want to save themselves, curses, male dominance, humiliation, cruelty, manipulation, infliction of pain, not taking time to understand different perspectives and beliefs and practices.
A lot. Arlie, I'm going to ask you this question. Look over those. What earth elements were used? When you look that list over, what earth elements were used? Oops, you're muted. I'm sorry.
What do you mean by earth elements?
Well, one easy one is fire.
Oh, yeah. Well, there was the witch chair dunking. There was putting heavy stones on women's chests. There was fire, of course. There was the witch harness, which was a helmet sort of thing with a big piece of iron that got stuck in the witch's mouth so that she couldn't speak her evil. There was the witch collar. There were stocks. There were, oh my God, there's so many different ways of hurting and harming women and destroying communities and means of torture. I mean, the human mind is so incredibly inventive when it comes to finding ways to hurt the physical body and add that extra little grinding twist of making sure that you get the soul and the spirit at the same time. So, yeah, those would be earth elements. There would be the restraints and the fire and the water and the weight and the throwing into prisons and where people couldn't even get clean and have their dignity, so that when they went to court, they're covered in feces and fleas and their hair is down at a time when your hair is supposed to be up. And yeah.
Thank you, Arlie. Anyone think of something else?
It's Audrey, air, because they were speaking ill also.
Yep. Also, the air in relationship to the propaganda that was spoken. Any other ideas? These are elements of our Mother Earth. Audrey?
Well, um, the body. So, I mean, the body holds everything, right? Because we were weighed also.
Mhm.
So,
Explain.
um, so after researching, people were weighed. If you weighed, if you were heavy, or if you were light, you were considered a witch. So it didn't matter actually how much ever you weighed, whatever their scale was, you were either burned or prosecuted for being a witch because of your body weight. But they also drowned women, witches, and if they floated, they were deemed a witch too. So there's a lot with the lightness of the body that has, to do with this too. So I've really gone through this and looked at beliefs relating to being killed for being a witch because of the weight. So the body has a lot to do with it too.
One of the things I wasn't aware of until some sisters made me aware is that when a woman is raped, there's a direct physical relationship to the throat, that it shuts down the throat physiologically.
That's because of the vagus nerve. Mhm.
So huge focus on control, discrediting, torture at those in female bodies. Now, granted that the witch hunts did not include only women. I imagine, because they did include men too. But the focus was on control, and women were the major target. I've seen postings during the last few months of, why do men hate women so much? Why are the women targeted? Why? And that's important to look at, and that's what we're going to look at. I have a friend, Sandra L. Brown, who is really, I would say, a master in her area, and she works with women who have been targeted by dangerous men, and has written a book called How to Spot a Dangerous Man. She's been a leader in domestic violence recovery, understanding, education, etc. So I received a newsletter from her on Monday, and I'm going to just read you a little bit of it because it helped determine what we were going to address today. And the title for her newsletter was called Recovery Without Justice. And these are just parts of it. At the heart of the victims' rights movement I was involved with during the 1980s after my father's murder was the concept of judicial justice that would lead to psychological justice. It's a great concept, and in a perfect world, it would work in all situations. If the pathological person wronged you, physically hurt you, conned you out of money, screwed up custody situations, and these are current times, right? Cheated on you, spiritually abused you, etc., he would be held accountable in the courts for his behavior. And more importantly, he would be forced into victim restitution, in which he would have to repay you for your pain or do something to acknowledge his guilt and assuage your pain. Of course, restitution in and of itself really doesn't heal anything. It's just that the victim or person who has been harmed feels like the scales of justice, which were so grossly leaning in the abuser's direction, somehow helped. The judicial system acts as the consciousness of this country. Victims seek solace in the courtroom and chambers, hoping that justice will alleviate the pain, horror, and stigmatization of being a victim of a monster. But we know that in many cases, and I dare say in most cases, that's not what happens. You have to recover without a second of judicial support. Women who hinge recovery on judicial justice or waiting for their day in court, or when he gets what's coming to him, will never recover. And it speaks to why we're doing this work in the way we're doing it. Because elected officials, judicial officials, movement groups is never going to get to the why. And that's the why. Why do they hate us? Why do they do this? Why? And we need to understand the why, because that will lead us to solution. So I'm going to go over some information that will help you understand the why of this particular monstrosity we call witch hunts, persecution of women that extend into our day everywhere in the world. When I asked in 1989 to go where there's the cause, I want to go to cause, to pull the cause out, get the sliver out, then the infection can heal. But if I just keep putting salve or a bandage on the infection point, it'll never heal. Okay, they said, but it's not being done that way on the planet. We will have to show you the why, the sliver. The first thing they said was you have to understand that there's not two worlds, earth, heaven, not that. That there are 8 world regions through which your star families have moved, 8 being Earth. So there's 7 other regions that unless you know what's in those regions, you'll never fix Earth, because that's where cause lies. So that's what they first showed me, this whole galactic history. And the galactic history shows that in that third world, extension from home, connected to home, but extending from home, there was an experience of this wonderful, these families of light, creativity, of joy, and of peace. And there were other family groups who had chosen to use other people's energy, other groups' energy, other groups' creations to fuel and feed their group, not to create their own, but to be a parasitic. I'll use yours. And so here we are out in the galactic world in that Laniakea area. Beautiful, beautiful creations being done. And at the same time, those who have chosen to be dominating parasitics keep draining their hosts, and now they need another place to be. It's how it works. And so one group came with that broadcasting, we would call it air, breath, broadcasting that says, hey, you guys are kind of new on the block. We've been here longer. Why don't you invite us in and we'll show you some tricks of the trade? And one of our star families bought the lie. And as soon as they opened the door to invite this deceptive group in, that deceptive group did what they do. They started to find ways to attach to twist, to co-op, until there was an ownership level of beings. And then there was those who've been captured or being used as sources, as food and energy. That is the cause. The domination agenda beings in our space. Because as soon as that happened, we didn't have love and then imbalanced love. We had love, imbalanced love, and then a separate energy called domination. And all through the worlds from that point on, there was that struggle to survive and extradite the divine star family self from this control. And it got worse and worse because there was less energy in the star family because their energy was being sucked off. Eventually, that kind of interrelationship will cause death of the host. And so our star families, and there were 7 big groups, our star families, those groups came together and said, we're all in the same boat. Let's maybe work together. And and came up with a plan for a earth type experience. In other words, a physical type of experience, so that the energies of the outsiders that were so slippery, they were so shift changing, they were so deceptive, it was really hard to keep our mind focus steady enough, strong enough to figure out how to get rid of them. So the plan was Earth, a physical location where energy would manifest, the law of manifestation. So the energies of the outsiders could manifest in order for them to be identified, grabbed hold of, and say, no, you are now going back to your home area. It's not about killing them, or it's about moving them back to their home area. And in that plan, the soul in the female bodysuit was the one given the authority. So when you consider that a soul in a female bodysuit was given the assignment to identify, well, that energy's off, it's not going to be helpful to the family, it's going to be destructive. Call in with your Sophia sword, check this group out, and be answered, and that group be checked out, anything of outsider energy being neutralized, contained, and removed. She had that authority. So she was a threat. A soul in the female bodysuit has been a threat to the cultures who have created our domination system from the beginning of the planet. That's why they target women. So any questions before we go further? Audrey.
It's Audrey. I always have questions. Sorry. So in the scope of everything, where does source fit into all of this?
Source source is the beginning of everything, right? Source is
right.
Everything. And those families, our star family extension, because you all are from a star family, you coalesced around a specific type of experience. You chose to have let's take this range of all that's possible and really let's create with it. You extended from home, from source, on a journey. Then you got caught in this domination energy. It's the beginning of everything. I mean, it's isness. It's where everything is. But we have ventured out like explorers to have our experiences, our agendas, all aspects of good.
So domination and parasitics are not of source. They
may not be of our source, but it's a choice they made. They made a choice to twist. I'm sure they came from a similar or same energy source. It's not source that they came from isn't a source of domination. It isn't. It is also, but it's choice.
Okay.
And they made a choice to use other people's energy, other groups' energy. They made a choice. To let you know, there's been so much corrections made in all of that entire world. That's part of the Gaia to Galactic Odyssey. There's so many changes. One of the changes happened within the last 6 months And that is that the Galactic Council collectives, way beyond our galactic, but all of them together have said that that type of agenda can't even be chosen anymore. That they can't even choose it. I mean, so when we remove those, and it's energy, some of them some of them are attached to bodies, some of them may be in bodies manipulating, but whatever energy is of a vibration, agenda of domination, control, etc., when is identified and neutralized, it's taken back to their source, not to some other place on the planet. So that's, and at that point, they got to recanoodle on what they're going to do, because they can never come out to do a domination agenda. No one can. Good news. So they've been that type of energy and influence. Literally, there were 15 family groups that coalesced around our 7 families. So we have the 15, this is way back before Earth. There were 15 that then subcontracted. So we had multiple types of those groups using our energy that we had to survive through, because we kept being less and less energetic, if you will. They were using it. So we've been surviving and trying to figure out how to get out from under their grasp for a very long time. Now, the female agenda, had we been able to do it as it was planned, we would never be at this point. We would never be at this point. But things went wrong, and things went wrong, and the female authority was discovered. And at that point, the soul in the female body became a target. They had to target that female body, and they had to attach, and they had to find ways to own the body, and because it wasn't naturally there. And when you make a soul or a body vulnerable, you injure it, you shake it up, you block it off, whatever, you make the boundaries become like Swiss cheese. And okay, there's a device, there's another one, here's another one. So that was their method of eliminating the mission or the purpose of a female, to identify and eliminate their presence. Now that's what we have taken that back. In my knowledge and experience, we really began to take that back in 2000. And so that's what I've tracked since 2000. Where are we in relationship to the female authority, in relationship to where are the parasitics and etc., where we are on mission. But we now have that authority back. We also have enough knowledge that we put together protocols like Guardian Circle, hazmat suit, hitchhiker. We put together the protocols that address that different energy of outsider, because love and light, violet flame, pink flame does not address them. They help keep our soul fed, but when our soul is fed and light and filled with love, the parasitics, if we had not a way to get rid of them, would just feed off of us more, because love and light is not what they're out of balance in. They just have a different agenda, and we had to find the way to address them in that agenda. And that's why we put together a team from a galactic family who had such strong boundaries, such strong sensitivity to vibrations, that they never were deceived. And they appeared as dots of light, in my field, shape shifting into different geometric forms and colors, and said, we can come and help you identify that vibration if you want us to. And after checking them out, I said, we need your help. So they form the basis of the PTO team. So that they can, when we call the PTO team in, they are now activated in what their assignment is. It's like, okay, in this field, might be a body field, it might be an energy field, it might be around a person field, because parasitics are everywhere. Less so than in 2000, but they are still everywhere. So it's not going at the person, the physical form. That physical form might absolutely be acting vicious, control, domination, discounting, absolutely. But if you had eyes to look behind or within, undoubtedly you would see the attachments. And we go after the attachments with the PTO. We go after the vibrational attachments. And then the tag team is there in the PTO group to heal and help restore any damage that's been done, which would have been there. And there's also a group, I call them the Platonian group, because they just have the strength to hold the boundaries so that those outsiders don't just slip away. Oh, because they have in the past. So the PTO has a Platonian contain the space. It has the PTO, and these dots of light beings have never wanted to be named, and so I don't name them. But they will go and they can identify vibrations of outsiders at any frequency. So they identify, they neutralize, they contain, bring in the tentacles, and then move the entire mass back to their home of source. And then the tag collective can do the restoration work for the individual. Sharon?
What happens? What is the condition of the human bodysuit once the energy of domination or the parasitic or the outsider energy has been identified and worked on by the PTO and maybe sent back to be neutralized? So again, I have another brother. He's the problem brother, but it's just interesting right now for me to just look at all the dynamics, like what's coming up with this one brother. So I'm just curious, once if we are doing that, and then what, like in those bodies, then what?
Everybody's different. Everybody's different. I've seen a situation where that the soul, the individual soul in the body is kind of like just naturally aligns to actions of good without any, it's like kind of aligns. Others struggle because there's more damage to the body. There have been situations too. Who's familiar with the concept of walk-ins? Raise your hand. So yeah, and so walk-in is an agreed upon situation. And so if that soul in the body, because we all are here, first of all, to get rid of the parasitics. If we can't do that, we're dead. That's the first thing. So all of us at various lifetimes have agreed to allow the domination energy to show through us so that it is seen. So there are bodies, people in bodies that are absolutely being manipulated, and they may very well be manipulated by soul choice and contract so that you see it. When you are in it, you don't see it. You don't have the strength to do anything about it. It's like you are just like often puppeted. But the rest of us who have pulled ourselves out of whatever we have, and we see it, then our part of the contract is to see it and name it. Something over there is not of the light of our family. PTO, clear it off. Now that completes a contract, one of the contracts that particular soul has made. It may be the most important and only contract. And then when that contract's complete, that soul may decide to leave the body because the contract's complete. And in that leaving of the bodysuit, if there is another soul on the team that says, you know, I could come in, I don't really need the birth experience or the growing up experience, but your body's in a good enough condition, I could use it to take my mission forward, then there would be a soul exchange. You see? And that could happen. This is a soul level choice as to what happens to the body. And some bodies are going to be so damaged that there's not a recovery of the body, but the soul is, that's where the life goes on. And if the soul is complete and then moves on, then the body's going to die. And that we don't know. I don't know. That's between that soul, their causal team, and the bigger plan. My job is to say, wherever it is I'm sensing outsiders gone, PTO, outsiders gone. That's my part of it. Blessing the field, that's part of the team too. And that's probably a long explanation, Sharon.
So to summarize, what I heard was some people might die as it's time for the soul to exit. They've had their lessons, they've worked through their lessons and their contracts or whatever. Some bodies might be vacated for other souls to enter and continue living in. And that may be a positive experience. I mean, it could be a troubled soul or a healed soul either. Correct?
It would probably more than likely be a healed soul
Okay, yeah.
who's ready to, you know, to expand. It might, yeah. It would more than likely be a healed soul.
Okay. I guess I'll share this because I had to wonder if my mother, if something affected her in the last few years that just led to this horrible anxiety and worry and everything that was always present with her, but just was so much stronger here toward the end, until after Arlie said, she just needs to get with it, make a choice. And she did almost the next day. So it's just, anyway, I won't say any more about that now, but thank you.
I'm just going to show you a timeline more of Earth experience. I mean, this is such a deeply, I mean, it's really a deep wound that began before Earth. So this is just the timeline for our Earth experiences. So like 600,000 years ago, a lot of the things we are learning about the Neanderthals really are in alignment to how that life plan was, how our original plan was going to be. So let's just say that our mission force, which are all volunteers, by the way, and parts of not the entire families from each of the star groups, but a portion of them came into the bodysuits to begin the plan. About 200,000 years ago, the dominators noticed that there was a body they didn't own, the female body, and they literally crippled the wiring of the bodysuits. They did it because they owned the male body. They could cripple that male body. They disconnected the male bodysuit from the heart center. So his guidance center of heart, his contributing center of heart was unplugged and the wiring put into the gonads so that the dominators could control the male bodysuit through the gonads, through sexuality. Then they went further, so about 195,000 years ago with the Homo sapien body, they now replaced the entire blueprint of the bodysuit. That's when the DNA was crippled, the power centers we call chakras got really diminished, but we were already wired wrong. And that happened that long ago. Right here, 400,000 years ago, the Neanderthals, I'll make this a little bit larger. The Neanderthals disappeared, that bodysuit. And the earliest, and that was 400,000 years, 40,000 years ago. And then the earliest female statue in a community that's been found was 38,000 years ago. Because in our mission, it wasn't that women dominated, because we didn't dominate, but we designed, we created, we brought forth the culture, the policies for our villages. So I'm sure that that's what was represented here. And it wasn't until 10,000 years ago that we had the appearance of the male patriarchy. But here, back here, 200,000 years ago is when the war on women began in this world. In the worlds before, in the galactic history, there's no gender, because our bodysuits are our souls. I mean, we have a light. The bodysuit itself, 600,000 years ago. And before that, then there was that ownership, yes. But here's 200,000 years ago is when the war on the soul in a female body began. And the first appearance of a patriarchal rule is 10,000 years ago. Military occupation, 2,700. Myths, 2,000. Story of Christ, 6 BC. Old Testament in the garden, you see. And here's the witch hunts. This is not where it began. This is not where it began, but it points to some problem upstream, not only here, but then into the galactic worlds. So if you can just take a moment and think, what pattern do you see either in your, I would like it to be in your family, if there's a pattern in your family, like how grandma was treated by grandpa, how your father treated your mother, how your brothers treated women. I mean, what pattern do you see either in your life or in your genetic family's life that is a reflection of the witch hunts or the war on women? And write that into the chat. So what I want you to do is write, and if you haven't yet, write it in your journal. Write that sentence in your journal, and I'll read them as you write your own in your journal. Males are more valued than women. Women's job is to take care of the family. Male's job is to be the breadwinner. In my family line, I see mothers mourning, lamenting, having a lack of connection to their daughters. And when you write that statement, whatever you see, we'll call that an issue. And I want you to draw a box around it, because that symbolically we're saying to that pattern, to the energy of that pattern, I see you. I see you. And I know there are messages for me that you're calling for healing. I know that. The box says you don't have to scream louder. You don't have to get bigger. That's the law of manifestation. If it's not handled, it gets bigger. You don't have to get bigger. I've got you on my radar. Freeze frame the issue. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to claim an outcome. And so we're working with the message and this new outcome in the form of a reality statement. And so here's the reality statement. And it will be on the website also, and you can copy and paste from here if you choose. I take back my relationship with the Mother Gaia and her elements of air, water, fire, and earth. I reclaim my gifts and teachings to use them for magic of good. I'm taking back what was stolen from me. And I'm just going to suggest that you take as an assignment to be with this statement. You'll have I'm going to take you through the reality shift. You can do some other processes, whatever processes you might bring to the table this week. So I take back my relationship with the Mother Gaia and her elements of air, water, fire, and earth. I reclaim my gifts and teachings to use them for magic of good. I'm going to take you through a reality shift. Call in our causal team and ask that my entire consciousness and the consciousness of everyone to whom I'm connected in love be moved into the energy of this design. I call in the PTOs of the tag team and ask them to deep six anything in my field that is, has, or would keep me from that experience. I call in the causal team, mine and those to whom I am connected in love, and ask that they design a program for my highest expression of this experience, myself and all to whom I'm connected in love. Create the program, download those codes of the program into my first dimensional field in this physical world. Anchor the program itself in the hard drive for this lifetime in the fifth dimension. And bring in a team that can bring manifestation into the dimension 1, 2, 3 for this program. This design has been created, it's chosen, the design program created, codes downloaded, anchored, and activated. And so it is. So it'll be interesting to see. I'll have the reality statement shift work, the statement, of course, along with a video on your website. And I think it will be really interesting to see what of your toolbox, what are you drawn to bring to the outcome for this statement. You might feel to do some kind of healing on the issue. You might feel to have some conversations. I'm just going to put it in your hands and see what it is that you're called to work with within your system, within your toolbox, within your higher self's directive in relationship to bringing those energies back into your hands. So with that, I'm going to open it up, and anything you want to say before we close, that would be what we would do next. So, or questions you might have, of course. Yeah, Sharon.
So I would say that I am called to clear up this situation right now, just in this family of origin here in my life on Earth now. And my dog is talking, and to hold the space for everyone to come, he's hungry, back into that loving. Yeah. And so it just will be curious. I guess just to step back and observe the changes, also observe and invite and allow and work with, or just flow with the possibility of change, I suppose, personalities, right? In all the key players. So that's an interesting idea. Thank you.
Make notes in your notebook so you can follow through. Anything else anyone wants to say or ask? Good. By the way, I want to let you know how difficult it was for me to not send out lots of reminders, to really trust that, wait a minute, you're capable, you are on top of it, you're intelligent, and I was saying to you last week, that's who you are. Therefore, I don't need to send reminders. And yet I had to also now look at my part of it, like, oh my gosh, sending out reminders. You did so good. I mean, kudos. We were right there on time. Thank you. Okay, open up your mics, whatever it is you want to say, because we're just going to call this circle closed. Our healing circle will continue as that cocooned bubble for those that we've put in it. And there are those in spirit who know what exactly they need to do. That circle of healing will continue. Okay, open it up. What do you want to say to each other?
Thank you.
Thank
Many,
you.
many thanks.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you all. And we'll see you next week.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
You know, this learning is so exciting, Sharon. I always leave these groups with my heart just going, yeah.
Oh,
There's always this spark of, I can do that, and really elicit change. I want to thank you for that and thank the group.
yeah.
So,
Yes. And we can. Absolutely.
yes, we have the power.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
gotta share with you guys. Oh, this is too great. This morning, during my meditation and my connection with my galactic team, a spark was coming through, and I had the vision of a spark standing there, igniting next to it, and then just starting to spread out.
Mm.
And then right now during this circle, Sharon mentioned spark and Arlie just mentioned spark. And I just went through the roof.
Debbie, I had that very same vision when I was traveling from Ogden, Utah to Boise, Idaho in 1989 on the road. Exactly what I saw. Wow.
Nice.
Circle.
You're making a difference.
I hug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone. Lots of
Thank you.
fun. Bye-bye.
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 Good to see you.